Behind me is my Nissan 350z Nismo. And last time, we revived this thing after it sat in my driveway for 3 years. And during all that time, the elements did a number on this car. Initially, there was vinyl on these fenders, but even after peeling that all off, I realized there was way more this car needed. So in today's video, I'm gonna do everything that I can to make this car look as good as possible. Because at the end of the video, I'm taking this to probably the most elevated car meet in the entire nation. So standards are gonna be extremely high. Now, of course, I can't do any of the further steps until I go ahead and wash this thing. So let's get to it. So now for the first time I've ever done, I'm going to be switching over to this Adams Polishes iron remover. I guess this is supposed to bring a lot of iron that's stuck in the paint out, and it's a good thing to do before doing a clay bar, which will be the next step after this. So let me go ahead and do this, and I think we should see the iron kind of coming out of the paint. If I see anything interesting, I'll make sure to show you guys. Okay, now that that's rinsed off, we can go ahead and start using the clay bar. The clay process is pretty straightforward. At first, you'll hear this rough sound when rubbing against the paint. And you want to lightly rub it with plenty of water and a little bit of soap until it sounds and feels smooth. And the rest of this process should take place inside the garage, so I can finally pull a Z in and let it have a good night of sleep before day 2 begins. So just a recap, last night we washed this whole thing, we used the iron remover, and we used a clay bar on the entire car. Now I see some spots where there's a little bit of residue and just junk left behind from yesterday. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over the entire car with isopropyl alcohol just to make sure it's truly clean and fresh with no product left behind, so we can go ahead and start the paint correcting process. If you can't tell, cleanliness is probably the single most important part of this whole process. At any point during this whole job, a single loose piece of dirt could ruin an entire section of this car. I'm even going as far as taping off some of the trim pieces right next to the paint because of how much junk hides inside of these trim pieces. If I hit the trim with the polish wheel, it could lift up dirt onto the wheel and start ripping up the paint. Now that we have this area nice and cleaned off and taped off, I need to go ahead and prime this pad with our compound polisher. I already have this taped off, so we'll be able to show a nice comparison between the two once we do compound and then polish. The compound process is pretty straightforward. Apply a good amount of product and gently let the tool do all the work. I'm not applying too much pressure at all, mostly because this cheap polishing wheel would stop moving if there was too much resistance. All right, there we go. Different pad with polish ready to go. Then I basically do the same thing with the polish after switching over to a microfiber pad. This time I'm applying even less pressure to allow that polish to very gently make for a perfectly smooth surface. Oh my God, that's actually unbelievable. Okay, so here you can see really clearly how hazy all of these lines from the light are compared to, there we are, all of these. They're a lot sharper and a lot thinner so that the paint is not refracting that light as much. It's just reflecting as opposed to refracting on this side. So let me go ahead and peel this tape and we can see really what it looks like in a side-by-side comparison. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So the line looks like it was about right here. And again, you can just see how that reflection changes between the two sides. So of course, I'm gonna do this process to the entire car, but I do wanna point out a couple problematic spots on this car where I'm not confident that doing this is gonna be able to get all of the imperfections out, such as right here on the wing. This oxidation is pretty bad, specifically right here, but across the whole wing. Doesn't help that I've started using it as a workbench, but I'm going to try and do this compounding and polishing on this as well. But I will say I have already tried doing this to this wing maybe 2 years ago, and I was not able to save it. So I think at a later point in this video, we are actually going to have to paint this wing, but that's okay. It should just be this wing that needs to be painted and maybe these A-pillars, because these A-pillars, this is a other problematic spot in this car. Let me show you. So on these A-pillars, here you can see we have good paint off to the side, but right here it's all oxidized and faded. It's worse on this side than on the passenger side, but I'm gonna go ahead and try and do that compounding process right here and see if we're able to bring some of this out. Because I would like to avoid painting this section right here, just because it's going to be much harder to blend it to the paint on the hatch. If we have to go and paint this wing, that shouldn't be as much of a problem because the paint difference between the fresh paint and the old paint shouldn't be as noticeable because they're not directly touching. So let me see what I can salvage right here, and then I will check back in with you guys. Not perfect, but definitely much better. Okay, now I'm gonna take some time and go ahead and go over the entire car doing this same process to get this paint as perfect as possible. I know of a couple spots where there are some pretty good imperfections on this car, so I'll go ahead and try and record those, but I'm not gonna make you guys watch the entire compound and polish of the entire car. Okay, so now I've moved on to the polishing step, and that means every time I wipe any of the spare polish off, I'm going to be switching over to the super plush microfiber towel. Let me go and show you a little bit of what that looks like. See, now the whole point of using this super plush microfiber is since we just spent all that time putting in all this work to make this paint perfect, last thing I want to do is introduce any fresh scratches or swirls into the paint using some kind of lower quality microfiber. So hopefully this super soft material will be able to just buff up all of the polish and leave the paint in perfect condition underneath.
One eternity later.
Okay, so I have finished polishing this thing. Boy, that took a lot of work, but I think the next step is actually going to be the ceramic coat. So I need to read the instructions on that. Pretty sure it's a good idea, definitely, to wipe down the entire car again with alcohol before applying the ceramic coat. But I'm going to put some close-up shots over all of this, and you'll be able to see the paint's looking super, super smooth. So I think that ceramic coat is going to really elevate it to the next level and make it super, super glossy. Very excited to see how it turns out. The ceramic coating application is pretty much the same as applying any simple wax to a car. Get some product on the applicator, wipe it on thoroughly, and then buff it with a fresh microfiber once the product flashes. But as I was doing this process, I had this guy show up.
How's it going?
Good.
That thing looks clean. We're coming back here Tuesday. That's good, man. Well, we'll give you a good rest of your day.
Thank you. That's your hustle, sorry, but kind of annoying. But after the whole car had been ceramic coated, I pulled the car out into the sun to get a better look, and wow, the camera doesn't do this complete justice. I mean, you can tell the carbon basically looks wet with how glossy it is, but the paint also looks phenomenal. Even this section of the A-pillar really looks 90% better in my opinion, so I don't think that's gonna need paint. But of course that doesn't mean we're not gonna have to paint still. I mean, that wing looks just as bad as when I started. Okay, so now we're actually on to day 3 of this process. Gotta start kind of working fast because that car meet is just in a couple days and I really want to try and make it in time. Today, I think I'm gonna focus on the headlights now. Maybe I should have done these before correcting the rest of the paint. I'm just gonna have to be very careful with taping up around these headlights to avoid damaging them during this process. But I also think in the long run, I'm probably gonna end up needing to just get different headlights. I've had to polish these and clean these up so many times, and it's gotten to the point where they've yellowed so much where deep into the plastic it's actually yellow. So I'll be able to pull a little bit of this discoloration out, make them look a little bit better, but absolutely not perfect. So I'm just gonna make them look all right, so when time comes to sell them, once I find a different set of better headlights, I'll be able to maybe try and get as much money as possible for them. So let's go ahead and do that process. All right, so I just pulled it out into the driveway after finishing the right headlight, and I think they look pretty good. Like I was saying before, I definitely want to try and source a new set of headlights because even with, trying to refinish these, there's still just a little bit of haze. And if you look at it from the side, you can still see there's yellowing going on. I just don't think it's possible to ever get this specific set of headlights to be perfect ever again. But at least now they're both polished and ceramic coated, just like the rest of the car. Except for the wing. This wing has always been the worst part about all of this paint. And maybe some of you have seen my video on my Tacoma showing how I tried painting the grill on that. And I'll be honest with you, it really did not come out great. So, plenty of confidence. We're gonna try again. Now, if you look right here, this wing already comes in 2 separate pieces. Since I'm only gonna be painting this top part, my plan is to just completely mask off from this bottom section all the way down. So if we mess anything up, it's only this top section. I don't see any point in risking getting overspray all on this area by taping it off down here where the wing actually starts. We're just gonna take advantage of the seam that's already there from the factory. Hey, and if you've made it this far in the video, I hope you're enjoying enough to leave a like and maybe even consider subscribing. It seriously would mean a lot. Now, of course, since my plan is not to just tape off the entire rear end of the car to prevent any overspray, you're gonna use one of these plastic drop cloths, drape over this whole section, and then cut out only the parts that we need to actually paint, being this top section of the wing. All right, so now that we have the car ready and masked off to the point where I don't think we're gonna get any kind of overspray issues, it's time to prep the actual surface for paint. So this really bad section right here, I'm gonna need to go ahead and scuff this up pretty good. I think we're gonna need to go relatively heavy with the paint, but across the wing, I feel like we're gonna need less and less of the actual base coat to make it look good. I'm hoping to minimize the amount of actual coverage needed for this. And on these side sections, I'm really thinking I'm gonna avoid putting too much of anything on. I'll be honest with you, this is incredibly terrifying. I've always done my best in the past 7 years of owning this car to keep everything in as good of condition as possible. So purposely taking something as rough as 600 grit sandpaper to any part of the body of this car just feels completely sacrilegious. Now, what I do find kind of interesting is similarly to the clay barring, in this really rough section, you can hear the sandpaper is really rough on this surface, but as we get to better conditioned paint, it sounds a lot smoother. Now, I think to get good coverage and to avoid, orange peel or any other kind of paint imperfections like that, we need to get this pretty uniform sounding and especially feeling so that paint can lay down real nice and smooth. See, now that I have this entire surface scuffed up, you can see pretty good from this angle how scuffed it is. This section only looks shiny because it still has a little bit of water from that quick detailer in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this entire surface using a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to make sure that we pick up any little pieces of dust, clear coat, sandpaper, whatever it might be on this paint. And while it does seem less important, still need to make sure to get a good amount of this underside here. I don't plan on intentionally spraying up to the underside because it really just doesn't need it. We still need to make sure it's clean so that when we're spraying, no dust particles get kicked off of underneath and somehow end up on top where our clean paint is gonna be. So without further ado, I think it's time to go ahead and start applying the actual paint. This is another one of those steps where of course I'm super nervous because up until now, it's just sanding. None of it's supposed to look good, but this is the first portion where things are actually supposed to start to look good and come out all right. So let's hope my painting skills have improved a little bit somehow overnight, and we're gonna get much better results from this paint job. We're gonna start with just a pretty light coat right there, but you can already see right here where it's super white from sanding, it's already starting to fill back in with actual color. All right, it's been a few minutes and that was a super light coat, so I think we're ready to go ahead and start with the second coat. We can see this section starting to slowly disappear. That's where I basically burned through all the paint, almost all the way to the plastic, I think. All right, here goes coat number 3. Coat 4. Now I have a feeling some of you might be wondering why I don't just get a air compressor and a Harbor Freight spray gun. I share this garage with a couple roommates and I don't want to take up any additional space. We're already kind of crammed in here as is. Plus, I've just never had to paint any large crazy body panel on any car before, mostly just small stuff like this wing and that grille I've previously done. If I ever did a whole car, then absolutely I would look into investing something like that. Now, as we're waiting for all these layers of base coat to dry, I am going to go ahead and start preparing the 2K clear that we have. This is the real deal stuff with all the skulls and crossbones on it, so I want to make sure to wear some kind of eye and face protection. I don't necessarily have any kind of respirator, but considering I'm doing this in an open garage with a fan running, I don't think that's going to be completely needed, but of course do this at your own risk. I am at least going to wear this, so at least I'm partially trying. But before we get started on that clear coat, I want to show you closer up how that base coat turned out. To me, looks pretty good. Pretty good coverage. I don't see really any, maybe some, but I don't really see any imperfections, I'll be honest. It all looks pretty matte finish right now, but overall, I think it looks really good. I'm hoping once we go ahead and put this clear coat on, it's really just gonna make this all completely pop. Right now, in some angles, you can see the silver here looks brighter than here. That scared me at first thinking I got the wrong paint code, but then when you go somewhere like this, you can see the silvers are matching a little bit better. So I think it definitely just needs that layer of the 2K clear coat to really bring this paint alive and make it look real nice and glossy. So the directions on this can say, just like any other 2K, you're supposed to take this red cap, shove it into the bottom and shake it for 2 minutes. So I'm gonna do exactly just that right now. Okay, felt some kind of a pop. So I think I released the curing agent, however this works. So I'm gonna go ahead and start shaking. Okay, it's been 2 minutes. So I suppose here goes nothing. Okay, I want to say that was a pretty good first coat. Not sure if I went too heavy right here. Maybe it looks a little bit funky, but we'll just let it kind of dry and see what happens. I don't want to speak too soon, but at least I feel like a kind of nice thing is I only have a run risk on the sides right here. I don't really feel like it's super likely for me to get any kind of runs on the top. So I'm definitely trying to go quite a bit thick on the top so we get that really good coverage and avoid as much orange peel as possible. Okay, I've given this a pretty good amount of time to cure, and oh my gosh, look at that. Obviously, we're still gonna need to clean it up a bit. There is a little bit of orange peel. You can see one little hair and two little hair, but this looks insane. I am so happy with how this turned out. This is looking truly phenomenal. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel the tape off so we can let this really cure overnight before we try touching anything on it. But I am genuinely shocked that it came out looking this good considering how my last paint job looked. Let me show you. In case you guys haven't seen it, this is my last paint job I did. Not this, this. See how rough and just crappy this looks? Of course, this is not using a good 2K clear, and this was on just a bare plastic surface. So I don't know what exactly I did wrong with this, but it just looks rough and pretty janky. But compared to that wing, this looks like absolute trash. So I'm so glad that out of all cars I did a good paint job on, it was the Z inside. Yeah, I definitely think it was a good idea to tape everything off the way that I did. Right down here where we didn't actually paint anything, I think there's kind of just a nice transition from fresh paint to old paint. And once polished up, it's gonna look real nice. I didn't even tape off anything here on the underside, and it maybe feels a tad bit rough from a little bit of overspray, somehow landing under there and sticking, but that should be able to come off real nice and easily, and we'll still retain that real nice OEM paint quality on this lower half of the wing and underside. And here you can get a better idea that even if this was not a perfect match, comparing it to the paint that's on the actual hatch of this car, since they're not directly touching and the angles are slightly different, you're never going to expect them to look exactly the same. So honestly, I can't even tell how good of a match this is, because since it's not directly touching any other body panels, it's really, really hard to tell. But to the naked eye, I mean, like from this angle, I feel like it does look very, very close. I'm going to back the car up really quick into the sunlight so we can get a better look of how it looks. Oh my God, yeah, this actually looks pretty insane here in the sunlight. And again, just remember, we still need to let this cure all the way, wet sand it down and polish it. But I mean, you can just see right here where we have that really nasty white spot of clear coat. It looks almost identical to the rest of the paint on the car right now.
One day later.
But now we can start the process of going from 1000 grit to 2000 grit, then 3000 grit, and finish it off with 5000 grit. So I just want to give you guys an update. I just finished the 5000 grit, and already before compound and polish, we can definitely see that shine coming back. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and compound and polish like I did on the rest of the car earlier in the video. And then this should be good looking if I did this all correctly, which I think I did. I mean, it's just basic wet sanding, but with, I don't know, paint and stuff like this, I'm still just kind of expecting it to go wrong. And look at that. That's post polish. There's the light from the camera. I'd say it looks good. I won't know for sure how good it looks, or if I missed any spots until I'm in better sunlight. But if we call this good, then it basically now just needs to wait 30 days since paint until we can go ahead and put any kind of sealant, wax, or in our case, it's gonna be ceramic coating on the wing itself. So it should look pretty good in the sun, but I think this car is finally ready to go to that meet. It's actually tomorrow, so I'm really glad I was able to finish this up. I've been waiting all day to get out here and do this because it's been so hot. I mean, you can see it's nighttime. I'm sitting here not doing anything crazy physical and I'm sweating. It's very, very hot out here, but I think we're gonna be ready tomorrow morning. So I'll see you guys there.